You know that person who's just so incredibly nice? Maybe that person is you. The one who always says yes, who puts literally everyone else first. And we tend to see that as a great thing, right? A sign of real kindness. But what if that constant, never-ending niceness actually comes with a hidden cost? What if it isn't just a personality trait, but something else entirely?
So let's just get real for a second. Does this sound like you? Your phone buzzes and boom, you drop whatever you're doing to go help. No questions asked. You're the one everyone can count on. But then, later, when you're by yourself, there's this quiet frustration, maybe even a little anger, and this deep exhaustion that you can't quite put your finger on.
And if any of that is ringing a bell, you're going to want to pay close attention. Because that impulse to please, that need to give and give and give, it might not be what you think it is. It could actually be a very sophisticated survival instinct you picked up a long time ago.
Okay, so let's really dive into this. We need to completely reframe this whole idea of being too nice. This is not about you being a doormat or having some kind of character flaw. Not at all. This is about a powerful, learned response that probably helped you get through a really tough situation in your past. And this next part, look, it can be a little jarring to hear, but it is the absolute key to understanding everything else. The behavior we're about to unpack, it looks like kindness, it feels like kindness, but deep down, at its core, it's a strategy to stay safe.
So here it is. The term for this is the fawn response. Now, you've probably heard of fight or flight, right? Well, fawning is another one of those deep-seated trauma responses. It's what happens when, usually as a kid, you learned that the safest way to avoid conflict, or maybe even neglect, was to make yourself essential to others. To basically erase your own needs, figure out what everyone else wanted, and just give it to them. You didn't just push your boundaries aside, you pretty much dissolved them completely just to get by.
Now, as you can probably imagine, living your life this way takes an unbelievable toll. And this isn't just in your head, it has real physical and emotional consequences. So let's actually look at the price your body and your mind are paying for being in this constant state of alert. Okay, so what is actually happening inside you? Well, first off, when you're constantly trying to read the room and anticipate what everyone needs, your nervous system is just flooded with the stress hormone cortisol. You basically become an emotional sponge, soaking up everyone else's moods and anxieties. And in all that noise, the quietest voice in the room, your own, gets totally drowned out.
And this leads to two really big problems. On one side, you've got compassion fatigue. That's that bone-deep physical and emotional burnout you get from caring so much. But on the other side, and this one is maybe even scarier, is identity erosion. When you spend your entire life focusing on other people's needs, you can literally wake up one day and have no idea who you are, what you like, or what you actually want for yourself.
So this internal chaos, it doesn't just stay inside you, right? It inevitably starts to spill over into your relationships. That constant giving, that niceness, it starts to curdle into something else entirely. It creates this dynamic that's built on a silent and ultimately really toxic agreement. This is what's known as a covert contract. Here's how it works. Step 1, you give, and you give, and you give. But here's the trap. Step 2, deep down, you're holding on to the secret expectation that they'll see how much you're doing and eventually they'll give back. But because you've never actually said this out loud, it's a covert contract after all, your expectation is almost never met. And that leads directly to step 4, this quiet, simmering resentment that just eats away at the relationship from the inside.
And this quote, it just absolutely nails it. This is the core of the problem in your relationships. The very thing you thought was making you a good person, your niceness, has secretly become the source of these hidden deals that are just designed to fail, leaving you feeling bitter and completely unappreciated.
Okay, so we've defined the fawn response, we've looked at the pretty devastating costs, and we've seen how it can poison our relationships. Now, the point of all this is not to make you feel bad about yourself, not at all. The whole goal is awareness, because once you have awareness, you can start to reflect. So I want to leave you with this one question. This isn't about becoming a selfish person or being unkind. It's about starting to rebuild your own boundaries and honor your own needs, maybe for the very first time. So, knowing everything we just talked about, what is one no? It can be big or small. What is one no that you really need to say? Not for anyone else, but just for you. Because that's where it all begins.